Did you know that you can take the mask off the LEGO Cuddle Team Leader minifigure? And did you notice that there's not a single gun in any LEGO Fortnite set? These are just 2 of the 26 small details you missed in LEGO Fortnite. But the first one is the fact that Peelybone wasn't ever supposed to be a real set. Sometimes LEGO designers build things just for fun, or as personal gifts for other employees. And that's exactly what happened here. Someone built Peelybone as a gift for a coworker, but then Epic Games saw it and they wanted it to be an actual product. So now it's a real set that you can buy, all because someone wanted to give their coworker a funny gift. But the origin story isn't even the most interesting thing about Peelybone, because there's something more interesting hiding inside him. Partway through the build, before you close up the torso, you make a small brick-built heart inside his chest. And then you brick up the rest of him and it's completely gone. You can never see it again without taking the whole thing apart. LEGO's done stuff like this before, like the turtle's brain in LEGO Minecraft, but seeing it on a Fortnite skin is pretty weird. And speaking of things you'd never notice on Peelybone, his heel uses a telephone receiver as part of the build, which sounds like a weird detail to bring up, but the reason it matters is that before this set came out, that specific piece was only ever in one other set, the Stranger Things Upside Down set from 2019. LEGO used one of the rarest parts in their catalog for this guy's foot, and barely anyone even noticed. But it's not just the sets. There's something about how the Fortnite theme itself was made that's pretty interesting. Designers John Cuppage and Eric Jensen had access to beta versions of the LEGO Fortnite game while they were designing the physical sets. So they could actually check the in-game assets and make sure the colors and proportions matched up perfectly. And apparently they got really lucky with the loot llama, because the colors it needed already existed. They didn't have to make anything new, which is pretty lucky for something like the loot llama. The colors are all over the place. But even with that luck, the llama ended up using a part that hadn't shown up in a LEGO set in over a decade. There's a 1x2 to 2x2 downward bracket in medium lavender on the llama's head. And the last time that part showed up in that color was in the Butterfly Beauty Shop set from 2012 in the LEGO Friends theme. LEGO clearly put a lot of effort into this set, but they actually got something wrong. The llama comes with a bunch of items that match what you'd actually find in one in Fortnite, except for one. There's a backpack in there. Obviously, there are only a few items in Fortnite that you can wear on your back, but none of them show up in a llama, so this thing is very out of place. But the best detail with the llama by far is actually a play feature. Obviously, we all know what happens when you find a llama in-game, but did you know you can recreate it with the set? If you put all the items in through the top, you can open one of the doors on the side and the loot will spawn in, just like it does in-game. Obviously, the llama doesn't disappear, but this is a really cool play feature that LEGO barely even advertised. However, the Durr Burger set has something really cool going on with the eyes. They're cross-eyed, which is accurate to the real one, but the way LEGO made this happen is kind of genius. Inside the build, there are hidden bar plate connections that hold the eyeballs at outward angles, so the googly, lazy-eyed look is actually engineered from the inside. You can't see how it works from the outside, and it's such a small detail that you probably didn't even think about it. But now, I want to talk about the Battle Bus set, because there are definitely some cool small details in here. The first one is that the giant balloon sections are made with pieces from the LEGO Trolls theme, which hasn't been around since 2020. LEGO had to take a lot of pieces from retired themes to make sure Fortnite was accurate. But Trolls is one I did not expect to hear. But the bigger thing about the Battle Bus set are the 9 minifigures that come with it. But it's because not a single one of them comes with a gun. It's all regular loot. Slurp juice, grapplers, pickaxes, slap juice, not a single gun anywhere. And this isn't an accident. Fortnite is literally a game about shooting people, but LEGO decided that the Fortnite theme shouldn't have any weapons, even though other kids' themes definitely do. It goes a step further though, because it carries over into LEGO Fortnite Odyssey. The actual game doesn't have guns either. Usually this would make sense, but we all know Fortnite is a kids game, and the kids buying the sets definitely know what guns are. Regardless, most people who have this set just display the Drift minifigure with his mask and hood, which looks great. But the minifig also comes with a separate hairpiece, so you can take the whole mask setup off and display him with hair instead. It's just like the edit styles in the game. But out of all 9 minifigures in this set, Meowscles is the only one who got printing on the arms, and this isn't just for show. The Lynx tattoo on his right arm is a reference to a completely separate Fortnite skin. Obviously, he has this tattoo in-game, but printing stuff on the arms ups the price by a lot, so I'm surprised LEGO did it just to give him a small tattoo. But here's the thing about Meowscles. The Battle Bus set is built so all 9 of the minifigures can sit inside, but Meowscles is the only one who can't actually do that. His tailpiece is so big that he just doesn't fit, so he has to stand the whole time. But the coolest minifigure in this set is the Cuddle Team leader, because the mask is actually removable. This isn't even possible in game yet, even though Epic made it a thing for a bunch of other team leaders. But LEGO actually hid a reference to OG Fortnite in this minifigure. When you take off the mask, you find what looks like Ramirez's head underneath. But Ramirez isn't Cuddle Team leader's canonical identity. That's Sid. The reason Ramirez is under there is actually a reference to the skin's origin in the game. Before we found out Cuddle Team leader was Sid, the skin used Ramirez's head underneath instead. So the detail is technically wrong if you're going by canon, but it's also a deep cut reference to OG Fortnite at the same time. But here's the part most people don't know. The reason why LEGO has such a close relationship with Fortnite is because LEGO's parent company, Kirkby, invested $1 billion into Epic Games in April of 2022 as part of a deal to build kid-friendly digital spaces. That investment gave Kirkby a 3% ownership stake in Epic, which is huge in the corporate world. And because of this relationship, allegedly, the Fortnite sets don't have the usual 20% markup that licensed themes usually get. So the sets not being more expensive is because LEGO literally owns a small piece of Epic Games. But it'd be weird if these sets didn't connect to the actual video game. So every LEGO Fortnite set has a QR code on the instruction booklet that unlocks a skin in-game. The 2025 sets all give you different ones. The Klombo set unlocks Island Adventure Peely, the Durr Burger restaurant unlocks Beef Boss, and the Mecha Team leader unlocks both the Mecha Team leader and Mecha Team Shadow outfits. This is a really good incentive, but LEGO also needed people to actually want to play their game. It was already a huge deal that LEGO and Fortnite were collabing, but the biggest reason people went crazy for it were the minifigure skins. With the Icon series, LEGO and Fortnite had a crazy opportunity to double down on something that was already working well, but they tripled down. Because the first Icon skin to get a minifigure in-game was Mr. Beast. They knew exactly what they were doing when they did this, but they still wanted the game to get even more attention. So for the launch, LEGO built 4 12-foot tall loot llamas out of 234,623 bricks. They weighed over 2,200 pounds and took over 850 hours to build. They dropped them off in places like New York, London, Tokyo, and Sydney all at the same time to get some hype going for the game. This is a pretty bold move, but it had already worked in the past. For the launch of OG Season 5, Fortnite dropped Durr Burgers all over the world, and it got them more publicity than they ever would have thought. Going back to the llamas though, alongside the giant ones, LEGO also made limited edition miniature llamas for the launch. Only 625 of them were made, and they were all numbered and sent to influencers and media companies. But you might be wondering why you've never seen it before. Well, that's because literally all of them were sent to people. Not a single one was sold in stores. So unless you were TikTok famous, there was literally no way for you to get one of these things. But this wouldn't be a LEGO Fortnite collab without references to Star Wars. In the LEGO Fortnite Odyssey game, there's a Star Wars update from 2024 where a random encounter makes a Star Destroyer crash into your island. It's not a cutscene or an event, it literally just happens in front of you, and the damage from the crash even stays there after it happens. And since Star Wars is part of LEGO Fortnite, the game also has Star Wars references hidden in the most random place, the animal naming system. When you find chickens, one of the names you can assign is Cluck Skywalker. That's not all though. Cows can be named Lando Calrissian for Lando, and sheep can be named Sheepio for 3PO. These are in the farm management section, which most people probably don't even read, so these names were a little hard to find. But getting back to real-life LEGO, inside the Mecha Team Leader set's cockpit, there are stickers showing screens that show the Season 9 Final Showdown battle, and the Devourer, the monster from that event, is on those screens as a brick-built LEGO version, not its regular in-game version. Whether this is a hint to a Devourer set or just a cool detail, I genuinely don't know. But did you know that the entire collab between LEGO and Fortnite actually got leaked? In September of 2023, Epic Games announced that they were laying some people off, and in the press release, they showed some upcoming games with code words, so no one could figure out what the games were. But one of those code words was Juno, which leakers had already connected to the LEGO Fortnite collab. So Epic accidentally confirmed the whole thing because they wanted to fire some people. Between this and the Pokemon League, they've really got to figure it out. But now, let me tell you a sick piece of lore about Klombo. LEGO didn't just have to make one version, they had to make two. One for the game and one in real life for the set. And because of the method they used, the two ended up looking almost identical. For the digital version, they hired a guy named Joss, who's a creature designer at Epic Games. But he's also the guy who won the LEGO Masters in 2022 in Australia. So they were getting an absolute GOAT for the job. The real-life version was designed by Matthias Julin, who matched Joss's version as closely as he possibly could. And he did a really good job, because people literally call this set a brick-for-brick replica of the digital in-game version. But the video game details don't end here. There's a game called LEGO Fortnite Brick Life, and somewhere in the game, you can find a vault with a bunch of different Fortnite items in it. There's balloons, a mythic goldfish, a chug jug, and a grappler. But I can't end the video without showing you an Easter egg in the Klombo set. Just like with the Peely Bone set, there's a little heart hidden on the inside. It's literally in the base of the entire set, so unless you built it yourself or watched a review, there's pretty much no way you'd know it was there. But which detail surprised you the most in this video? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.